Hey, Vinyl Community YouTube people and all my music loving friends. It's Mike, MGK Boston, back with another video. I wasn't going to do a video, but I was inspired by my friend Tony over at Two from the Trunk. This was real easy. I was watching a couple of his videos recently. He's a pretty chill guy over in Pennsylvania. He's always down in his basement hanging out, and his queen wife is above, cooking him some delicious food, waiting on him. I mean, that sounds great. Anyway, my wife's baking up a storm today, so we're getting ready for Thanksgiving. Patty, you may remember from my previous video, just another teaser. We're going to be back next week at some point to highlight what I said I would never do, have a contest. So stay tuned for that, just another teaser on that. But anyway, today's subject, my friend Tony, again, from Two from the Trunk. Please check out his channel. He's a pretty thrifty shopper like I am. When you have a kid in college, you try to save money other ways, which we do in our family, our daughter in college, that is. So anyway, all that aside, so Tony is doing a series he does intermittently. He just calls it Playlist, episode 1. I think he's probably up to maybe 3 by now. His are very short. Basically what he does is playlist, meaning what was he listening to like the past few days, if I was understanding what Tony was relaying as the subject matter. So I'm a bit of a attention to detail type guy. Since I was young and started collecting music, even in middle school, I always had a notebook where I would write down if I heard something on the radio, a song I'd never heard before, whatever, write that down so that when I'd go to a record shop and I could look for it, because I was into a lot of weird alternative stuff in the 80s. So you might not hear the song again. You'd hear it on college radio once, so you'd have to get that, listen for the DJ to rhyme off the track, and you'd write it down. Anyway, so what I do sometimes, I'll be hanging out here in my music room and I'm listening to stuff. I'll also, in my notebook, I just keep like a composition notebook like you would in your office. And I'll just write down, hey, here's what I listened to on Sunday, or here's what I listened to on Monday. Typically, it's more of a weekend sport for me during the week. It's more of, I'll watch TV series or that sort of thing. And by Thursday, I've got a hankering and I'll throw a record on the turntable, or I'll just cheat with a CD because it's easier sometimes. And I'm going to show a couple of CDs today, so vinyl purist alert on that. But I've noticed a lot of the vinyl community people now, nobody's getting too uptight about it, so they're showing some CDs, and I have a very extensive CD collection. I have around 600 that I purchased all through the late 80s, well through the 90s into the early 2000s, and that's when I got back buying records again, because I bought records from probably 7th grade right through college, and then I switched over to compact disc. Anyway, you've probably heard all that before if you watch my channel, so I'm going to dive right in. This is called Playlist. So in the last one I watched that Tony did, he showed a Sinatra compilation, just like a greatest hits thing, and I made a comment on his video and that I had a bunch of Sinatra, and he said, well, show me what you got. So I'll try to be brief, but it's a lot. So this video won't be 10 minutes, so just a heads up. So what I thought I'd do, I thought I'd split it out. Frank Sinatra was on Capitol from the start of his career, I believe around 1949, right through the 50s, and then something happened with Capitol Records. I'm not sure exactly what went wrong, but he was a wealthy man at that point, and he was the main backing, my understanding is, for Reprise Records. So I've split today's selections. I'm going to show all the Capitol stuff first, and then I'm going to go into the Reprise stuff, which takes us pretty much from 1961 to the end of his career into the 70s. So anyway, here we are. These are no particular order by year, and don't ask me the year because a lot of them don't have it on here, and I just threw this video together in a hurry, so I usually am a stickler for that. I'll give it the year of the release, but again, you can look any of these up on Discogs, Wikipedia, allmusic.com, whatever choose your poison. This is Point of No Return, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. It's just showing the cover art, really, and these are all in really great shape, and I've purchased these prominently right before the pandemic. I took a deep dive into Frank Sinatra, and I've purchased all of these probably over the past 2 years, just at record shows, local shops, state sales, wherever I see them. And as luck would have it, they're usually in really great shape. I don't know if Sinatra fans really must take care of their records, or I'm just lucky. I don't know, must be the second one. Just getting lucky. Anyway, Where Are You? This is a very good one too. These are all good. He predominantly played throughout the Capitol years with Nelson Riddle and his orchestra, also with Gordon Jenkins and his orchestra for accompaniment. All right. another classic here. Come Fly With Me, Sinatra Airlines. There he is at the airport. Send this one out to my friend Gary, who's a pilot down in Florida. Gary's a big Frank Sinatra fan too. So Come Fly With Me, of course, the title track's real great one on this. And got to mention Autumn in New York, and of course, I love the Isle of Capri. I'd like to go there right now. It's pretty cold out here in New England. This is no Isle of Capri here today. All right. Here he's at the bar, because no one cares. This is Frank Sinatra. Of course, with Gordon Jenkins and his orchestra. Of course, it's Frank Sinatra. I'm walking you through it. And again, on all of these, you can see the Capitol logo right there. Full dimension stereo. No one cares. I care, Frank. I care. Believe me, I care. More Crying in Your Beer Glass, Only the Lonely. There he is, kind of looking like a creepy clown. Frank sings for Only the Lonely. So, yeah, drown in your beer glass or whatever your poison is. Only for the Lonely. Great title track on this. Blues in the Night, Gone with the Wind, and One for My Baby. Some other tracks on this. I want to try to get through these, so I'm trying to not get digging into the weeds here. Come Dance With Me. There he is. Come on, let's dance. It's this one with Billy May and his orchestra. So Billy May was another band leader too, all through the 60s. He did accompaniment for Nancy Wilson, jazz vocalist that I've mentioned a few times lately in my videos. I'm a big fan of her too. Nice and Easy. First copy I had of this was in terrible shape, so I take back that earlier comment. I did get hosed on a copy that it was like been dragged through downtown Damascus war zone. It was in terrible shape, but the sleeve looked great, and so did the record. I got it home, and even with cleaning, it was a disaster. So I found this one a couple of months ago at a record show in Burlington here, and I got a great deal on it, $5, and it plays great. So I'm really happy with that, and it's nice and easy. Earlier, Come Dance With Me. Well, now Come Swing With Me. There he is again on the cover. Of course, this one with Billy May again on accompaniment. Day by Day, Sentimental Journey, and on the sunny side of the street. That's a great one. So as I said, I didn't play all these albums. Like I said, I'm showing these just because when I on the Two for the Trunk video for Tony, he'd asked for me to show these, but typically on a Sunday afternoon, this is kind of my go-to. I like a Frank Sinatra album, or the easy listening stuff, or jazz, or if I'm feeling like it, I have a psychedelic Sunday and I get into some psych blues rock kind of stuff. But that's usually my kind of format for a Sunday. I'm a creature of habit, so just a little more detail that you probably don't need, but there it is. And here's some more Frank. This is Sinatra, exclamation mark, just so you know who it is. There he is again on the cover. Got The World on a String. That's a great track on there. And we got Look to Your Heart. There he is right there. So I have a little late afternoon sun reflection coming in there. Yeah, that's a great cover. Handsome Devil that he was. Our Town, Not as a Stranger. Anytime, Anywhere. There's a few more for you. Great songs. Look any of these up. Really good. Sinatra Sings. This looks like a compilation. Sings of Love and Things. And he's on every cover. He's worse than Don Henley. His head's on every cover. Just like I always joke, I had a buddy back in Canada. He watches my videos too, another Mike. And we always joke that every Don Henley solo album, Don had to have his mug on the cover. Anyway, Try a Little Tenderness, another great one. Great song, great title track to this one. My Blue Heaven's another good one on this. And of course, Moonlight in Vermont, not to be missed. Moonlight in Vermont. I could drive up tonight and see the Moonlight in Vermont. It's only a few hours away, but I don't think I'm doing that today. Ring-a-ding-ding, there he is. Doorbell's ringing. So right now, yeah, that was the last, Try a Little Tenderness, that was the last one I had on Capitol. Now we're officially into the reprise years in the 60s again. These are in no order. This one might have been about 1964, 65, but this is one of his very, very popular records, Ring-a-ding-ding, very popular. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna rhyme all these tracks off, but In Still the Night's a good one on this, and Let's Fall in Love. There's two for you right there. Getting near the end of the Frank. September of My Years. Sounds like he's in decline, but he's not, because this is a really great record too. Hello Young Lovers, Last Night When We Were Young, and September Song, being the September of My Years. Another track to look up for, look up rather. And Softly As I Leave You. This is mostly ballads on this one, if I haven't listened to this in a while. But yeah, and this, of course, most of these are, this is a mix of arrangements. So I think this is a compilation because Nelson Riddle's got credit on one track, Billy May's got credit. So it's a mix of the arrangers on that one. Big old stack of wax with Frank here. This is a double. Yeah, arranged and conducted by Quincy Jones, and Count Basie being the orchestra. So yeah, so anyway, this is a double live at the Sands, of course, in Las Vegas, Nevada. If you didn't know where Las Vegas was. And yeah, just thought I'd open this. This is a cool picture right there of Frank backstage. He is on stage. This is a cool album because he had a pretty clever sense of humor. And on at the Sands, he jokes back and forth and talks to the audience, so that's kind of cool. Has a nice rapport with the crowd. I can't imagine being at a show like this. Must have been a time, you know, all suit and tied, looking great. And yeah, that was what people did, including my parents back at that time. As I mentioned a couple of videos ago, my parents were quite a bit older when I came into the world, so this was their kind of world. Sinatra, this is just a collection, but it's all Nelson Riddle on this particular one, leading the band. It's a pretty nice collection, as you can see. There's a nice track listing right there. And yeah, Young at Heart, How Little We Know, Call Me Irresponsible, all major hits. Yeah. And we're really getting near the end of Frank's career. This is an album he did with the Brazilian arranger Antonio Carlos Jobim. This isn't great. He did another one with Jobim before this. This is, I want to say, about 1970. This one is much better. It's Francis Albert Sinatra and Antonio Carlos Jobim. And there they are in the studio right there, the two gentlemen right there. Yeah, of course, you know, the Jobim composition, The Girl from Ipanema, Dindy, Change Partners, Quiet Nights of Quiet Stars. You know, you'd be familiar with the Astrid Gilberto version with Stan Getz, and of course Jobim contributing to that, all those arrangements with Stan Getz. Yeah, and Bangles, Bangles and Beads is another good one on this. But yeah, this is great. If you like bossa nova and you like Frank Sinatra, this is a perfect marriage. The two come together and should stay together. Bossa Nova and Frank Sinatra again. Francis Albert Sinatra and Antonio Carlos Jobim. I'll spit that out. Really excellent album. Really great. And finally, let's say finally, oh my God, finally. Aren't you glad you asked to see all my Sinatra, Tony? And lastly, this is All Alone. There he is, all alone. Again, this wasn't at the end of his career. Those last two bossa nova kind of records were late 60s, 1970. I believe this is more mid 60s. Doesn't really matter, but it's All Alone. Title track, All Alone. Are You Lonesome Tonight? Everybody knows that song. The song is Ended. And What'll I Do? That's a great one. And When I Lost You, that's another good one. A lot of sad tunes on this one because he's all alone, right? All right. All right, we're going to totally switch gears. This is a band, Britpop, part of the Manchester sound, if you will. Don't know if they were from Manchester. I believe they were. Coming out of the same school as Happy Mondays, Charlatans UK, Chameleons, etc. Whole post-punk Britpop, if you will. Frontman Ian Brown and John Squire on guitar. They were a great pairing. They only did these two albums, and this is their self-titled debut. Release date on this one, it's hard to read on these CDs. This one has seen some parties, so the jewel box is a disaster. They were on Silvertone Records. And on the inside, you can see there's Ian Brown right there, the lead vocalist. And there's Chris Squire, or Chris Squire. Chris Squire's the bass player for Yes. This is not Chris Squire, this is John Squire of the Stone Roses, not to be confused. Totally different things. So there he is down in the corner, John Squire. So this is the track listing you've got on the inside. So it kicks off with I Want to Be Adored. She bangs the drums, Elephant Stone. There's actually a really cool band from Montreal, Canada, currently active, fairly new act. And they would, of course, cite the Stone Roses as probably one of their main influences. The only difference is Elephant Stone, the band Elephant Stone that I mentioned from Montreal, also employ a sitar in their stuff, which adds a whole new element. This is really kind of psychedelic pop. Oh, there's a nice open up gatefold on the inside of the CD, if you will, of the CD sleeve, a picture of the band. So you can see they've got that whole, this picture could have been taken in 1969, but yeah, these guys were late 90s. Release date again, I want to say it's around 97. Actually, credit for this painting on the back is John Squire. That's kind of neat. Didn't know he was also an artiste as well as a musical artiste. So that's the Stone Roses debut. And like I said, they only did 2. I was listening to both of these last night. They haven't seen the light of day in years. I just felt like it. I was hitting the clubs a lot when this stuff was out, and this was a lot of my go-to. It's great music. The second one has more of a rock edge to it, if you will, and some people didn't like it, but I think it was really excellent. Some people saw self-indulgent because the opening track on here, Breaking Into Heaven, kind of goes on and on for 6 or 7 minutes, which is long for a pop song. But these guys were more than a pop act, like I said before. So yeah, some other ones on here, like 10-Story Love Song. That's a great track. Look that up. How Do You Sleep? And of course, Love Spreads rounds out the album. That was a big single. I actually have a 12-inch single for that. Actually on vinyl that I picked up used not too long ago. And that was the first time I'd listened to Stone Roses in a while. It's funny you see 12-inch singles at shows, and they're usually cheap. But a full-length Smiths album will set you back $50. I'm glad I bought that stuff when it came out, for God's sake. I mean, what they're getting for it now, it's like buying expensive jewelry. Everybody out there, you guys all know the cost of records these days. But again, these are 2 from the Stone Roses. This is Second Coming. And I believe the release date on this one's 94. Yeah, 94. So it's great. Kind of cool cover art on that. I don't know if John Squire did this cover art, but I have to assume he did. If he was doing it for the first album, he probably did it for this one. I can't find the credit for it. But anyway, yeah. Ian Brown then, of course, went on and he busted up the band and he went solo. He was kind of known for, he was difficult to deal with, and on stage he'd forget lyrics. Don't know if it was like relative to substance abuse issue or whatever. I never saw them live, but just, I just know over the years what I read. I used to read this magazine from the UK. I used to have actually a subscription for years called Q Magazine. If you still read printed magazines, Q Magazine is still in print. It's really good. It's really excellent. I put it up there with, I still get this magazine, Goldmine. I put it up with this. I actually prefer Q. I don't know why I quit buying it. I think it got super expensive because when you convert Great British pounds, it's like a $13 or $14 magazine to buy it. But the best record reviews always were in Q Magazine. But anyway, I'm veering off course. So another listen, I was listening to this last Saturday. This is Robbie Robertson, and he calls this Robbie Robertson and the Red Road Ensemble. Of course, Robbie Robertson was part of the band, and I was thinking about the band. That's why I was listening to this last weekend, because Thanksgiving was coming up. So the documentary film done by Martin Scorsese is called The Last Waltz. Most of you probably know that film, recorded at the Winterland Theater, Bill Graham's Winterland in San Francisco on Thanksgiving weekend, 1976. And it was their last performance, and it showcased a whole bunch of people from Dr. John, Emmylou Harris, and among many others that would come on the stage and play with the band. And so Robbie Robertson, he had a solo debut here. This is actually this is one self-titled. This came out in 1987, produced by Daniel Lanois. It's got Lanois' hands all over it. When you listen to it, there's no mistaking it. Does a duet on here with Peter Gabriel, Fallen Angel. Showdown at Big Sky was a big charting single on this. American Roulette is good. Somewhere Down the Crazy River too is a real cool, spooky ballad. I love it. And this is his debut. But anyway, back to this one. So of course, Robbie Robertson was born and raised in Toronto. I'm also from Ontario, as I've mentioned several times in my videos. So his mother was First Nations, I believe, Cayuga Mohawk mix. And she had grown up on a reservation just southwest of Toronto, southwestern Ontario, down toward Windsor. And as a child, he used to visit the reserve, and that's where he learned to play guitar, actually. I had a biography I read about him years ago, so I'm a bit of a completist with the band, so I'm really interested in the guys in the band. They were really interesting characters, and he's no exception. He's still alive, Robbie Robertson, and still making music. I don't have any of his recent stuff, but this was a thing he did with some First Nations. He calls it music for the Native Americans. and it's really excellent. There's an ensemble here, and the opening is called Coyote Dance. It's like a traditional, you know, with the chanting that they do. I don't want to minimize it. It's really excellent. I don't know what it's called. It's just a type of singing. The Silver Cloud Singers were a chorus that joined him on this, and it's great. There's a lot of First Nations musicians on this. So yeah, Ghost Dance is another one on here. Vanishing Breed. This is really a record you want to listen to from start to finish. It's like a concept album, and it's you don't get tired of it. It's something completely different, and it's Robbie Robertson and the Red Road Ensemble. I really like it, and that debut is one of the best solo album debuts I could think of. Yeah. Anyway, almost at the end here. This was a recent pickup, and I listened to this again last night. Rumors of his death were not exaggerated. It's funny because I mentioned that a few videos ago. I made a video on a Friday afternoon, and I swear to God, I said something about, yeah, he's not really dead, because, you know, I saw something on TMZ.com, and then no sooner had I made the video and I uploaded it to YouTube, boom, it's all over the news. Jerry Lee Lewis has passed. But anyway, he's officially gone. But I just picked this up at a local shop probably 2 weeks ago for a few bucks. It is great because, you know, I love traditional 60s, 70s country music, and this is excellent. So he retooled himself. He had all those troubles, you know, in his personal life with his first wife. You all know that story. I don't need to get into it. But he switched gears from rock and roll to country music, and it was really a really great fit. He just had a voice that suited it, and his attitude, his piano playing, all of it. It just was a perfect fit. And on this is an album. It's a collection here, of course. It's Volume 1, Hall of Fame. These are all Hall of Fame country artists. So he does, there's an excellent version here of Heartaches by the Number. That's killer, because he's the killer. And Don Gibson, who I've mentioned before. Everybody's done the Don Gibson song, Oh Lonesome Me. This is probably the best version I've ever heard, next to the original, Oh Lonesome Me. And right before that one, yeah, you got Born to Lose. That's another one. Look that up. These are all good. And his sister actually does a version of the Johnny Cash tune Jackson on here, and she sings with him on it. And she's actually a pretty good singer. Linda Gale Lewis. The three name people, you know, down south, it's Jerry Lee Lewis, and, you know, his sister was Linda Gale Lewis. Anyway, I should start going by my middle name too. What the hell, eh? But anyway, yeah, that's the last record I'm going to show today, and that's Jerry Lee Lewis. Hall of Fame Hits, Volume 1. If you like traditional honky-tonk, this is killer music from the killer himself. It's really excellent. All right. And lastly, I just thought I'd show this DVD. I didn't pick this up recently. I bought this a few years ago. I was up in Portland, Maine, a store called Bull Moose up there. And yeah, this might have been a used copy of this DVD. So this was the Cream reunion officially in it's at the Royal Albert Hall. What the heck is the year on this one? 2005, right there. Yeah, hard to read that kind of psychedelic print. But yeah, of course, Jack Bruce, Ginger Baker, and the great Eric Clapton. Get this out of here. It comes with a really nice book. A poster on the inside. Yeah, of course, London 05 at the Royal Albert Hall. This is a really excellent DVD. They play as if they never broke up. Of course, these guys are just incredible musicians. Cream are probably certainly in my top 5 bands. I recently just became a completist of Cream. I've got all their stuff on record, on vinyl. It's pretty easy to find out there, but it's not always cheap. But I've been looking around over the past few years, and now I have everything. And this is so you've got the nice 2 DVD set, and there's Eric Clapton over to the side on the stage right there. So that's Cream reunion live at the Royal Albert Hall. Of course, Eric Clapton, he's the last man standing. Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker are now passed. Look for the documentary Beware of Mr. Baker, it's called. It's a really great documentary on Ginger Baker, Beware of Mr. Baker. It was streaming on Amazon a year or two ago, but if you go on Internet Movie Database and look up Beware of Mr. Baker, it'll tell you where it's streaming. Highly entertaining. He was a lunatic in a funny way in my mind. Well, just my perception, he was a funny guy. Ginger Baker, that is, and the best drummer of all time, in my opinion. Just incredible. You know, he was influenced by jazz, world music. He got into everything even after Cream broke up. and he was living in South Africa. He's just a real wild man. But anyway, yeah, there they are on the back. You can see the names right there. But yeah, so that's going to do it for today. I'm going to call this video for Tony's, what he's calling his just playlist episode 1, and then I'll probably do another one. Yeah, I didn't do any prep for this or research, if you will. I don't do a lot of research as a rule. Most of the research is already up here in my head. But just from just listening to music for all these years and reading books about it. So this is a really good DVD. I have a lot of DVDs, so I might start showing some of my concert DVDs, just mixing things up in here, you know. I know my friend Aaron over at Square the Circle, he likes to talk about movies, and I can do that too. They don't always have to have a music theme. But anyway, I'm rambling. That's 25 minutes. I'm way over, Tony. Sorry about that. But again, if you're in the United States, hope you have a great Thanksgiving. We're doing it tomorrow. Go Patriots. Tomorrow night, it's game time. And let's see what Mac Jones can do. All you people that hate the Patriots, I know, I understand. But it's just football, folks. Have a great one. If you're celebrating tomorrow, if you're not, have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time.